Hello everyone, now let us discuss about Good Manufacturing Practices Guide for Active Pharmaceutical Ingredients Part 3. This comes under Q7 Quality Guideline of ICH. Part is a continuation of Part 2. So first coming to building and design facilities, buildings and facilities. Coming to design and constructions. The buildings and facilities used in the manufacture of intermediates and API should be located, designed and constructed to facilitate cleaning, maintenance and operations as appropriate to the type and stage of manufacture. And facilities should also be designed to minimize the potential contamination where microbial specifications have been established for the intermediate or API. Facility should also be designed to limit the exposure to objectionable microbial contaminants as appropriate. They need to have adequate space for the orderly placement of equipment and materials to prevent mix-up and contamination. Where the equipment itself, for example, closed or contained systems, where the equipment itself provides adequate production of the material, such equipment can be located outdoors. And the flow of materials and personnel through the building or facility should be designed to prevent mix-ups and contamination. There should be defined areas or other control systems for following activities. The first one is receipt, identification, sampling and quarantine of incoming materials pending release or rejection, quarantine before release or rejection of intermediates and APIs, sampling of intermediates and APIs, holding rejected materials before further disposition, for example, return or reprocessing or destruction, storage of released materials, production operations, packaging and labeling operations, and laboratory operations. There should be defined areas or other control systems for the following activities. All these mentioned points or areas, they need to have defined space or defined areas for performing these activities. Adequate clean washing and toilet facilities should be provided for personnel. The washing facility should be equipped with hot and cold water as appropriate, soap or detergent, air dryers or single service towels. The washing and toilet facility should be separate from but easily accessible to manufacturing area. Adequate facilities for showering and change of clothing should also be provided whenever appropriate. Laboratory areas and operations should normally be separated from the production areas. And some laboratory areas, in particular those used for in-process controls, can be located within the production areas provided the operations of the production process do not adversely affect the accuracy of the laboratory measurements. And the laboratory and its operations do not adversely affect the production process or intermediate or API. Coming to utilities, all utilities that could impact on product quality. For example, steam, gas, compressed air, heating, ventilation, air conditioning should be qualified and appropriately monitored, and the action should be taken where limits are exceeded. Drawings for those utility systems should be available. Adequate ventilation, air filtration, exhaust systems should be provided where appropriate. These systems should be designed and constructed to minimize risks of contamination and cross-contamination and should include equipment for control of air pressure, microorganisms, if appropriate, dust, humidity, temperature as appropriate to the state of manufacture, stage of manufacture. Particulate attention should be given to those areas where APIs are exposed to environment. If air is recirculated to production areas, appropriate measures should be taken to control the risk of contamination and cross-contamination. And also permanently installed pipework should be appropriately identified. This can be accomplished by identifying the individual lines, documentation, computer control systems or alternative means. The pipeline work should be located to avoid risks of contaminations of the intermediate or API. Drains should be of adequate size and should be provided with a air brake with an air brake or suitable device to prevent backsiphonage when appropriate. Coming to water. Water used in the manufacture of API should be demonstrated to be suitable for its intended use. Unless otherwise justified, processed water should, at, at a minimum, meet World Health Organization guidelines for drinking water quality. Unless otherwise specified, the processed water should, at a minimum, that is, it is mandatory, it should meet the WHO guidelines for drinking or potable water quality. If drinking water is insufficient to assure API quality and tighter chemical or microbial water quality specifications are called for, appropriate specifications for physical and chemical attributes, total microbial counts, objectionable organisms, and or endotoxins should also be established. Where water used in the process is treated by manufacturer to achieve a defined quality, the treatment process should be validated and monitored with appropriate action limits. When the manufacturer of the non-sterile API either intends or claims that it is suitable to use in further processing to produce a sterile drug, water used in the final isolation and purification steps should be monitored and controlled from the total microbial counts, objectionable organisms, and endotoxins. Especially in case of water for injection, you need to take these points into consideration: microbial counts, objectionable organisms, and endotoxins. When the manufacturer of non-sterile API either intends or claims that it is suitable for further processing to produce a sterile drug. For that reasons, you need to consider these things. Coming to contaminant, the dedicated production areas, which can include facilities such as air handling equipment or process equipment, should be employed in the production of highly sensitizing materials such as penicillins or cephalosporins. Dedicated production areas should also be considered when material of an infectious nature or high pharmacological activity or toxicity is involved. For example, certain steroids or cytotoxic anti-cancer drugs. Unless validated, inactivation and or cleaning procedures are established and maintained. Appropriate measures should be established and implemented to prevent cross-contamination from personal materials, etc., moving from one dedicated area to another area. Any production activity, including weighing, milling, or packing, of highly toxic non-pharmacological materials, such as herbicides and pesticides, should not be conducted using the building and or equipment being used for the production of APIs. Handling and storage of these highly toxic non-pharmacological materials should be separate from the active pharmacological ingredients, APIs. Coming to lighting. Adequate lighting should be provided in all areas to facilitate cleaning, maintenance, and proper operations. Sewage and refuse. Sewage, refuse, and other waste. Example: solids, liquids, or gaseous byproducts from the manufacturing in and from buildings and the immediate surrounding areas should be disposed in a safe, timely, and sanitary manner. Containers and or pipes for waste material should be clearly identified. Coming to sanitization and maintenance. Buildings used in the manufacture of intermediates and API should be properly maintained and repaired and kept in clean condition. Written procedures should be established, assigning the responsibility for sanitation and describing the cleaning schedules, methods, equipments, and materials to be used in the cleaning buildings and facilities. When necessary, written procedures should also be established for the usage of suitable rodenticides, insecticides, fungicides, fumigating agents, cleaning and sanitizing agents to prevent the contamination of equipment, raw material, packing, labeling material, intermediates, and API. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for further videos on pharmaceutical sciences and other related disciplines.